Hello and Dillykins here, and welcome back to the Dillykins 2 channel. I know we haven't really done a lot of videos this year. Now, the last video that I actually did was the Arc Raiders from worst to best from the Arcs, actually. And I recently just played through Resident Evil Requiem on stream, and we're kind of a little bit middle of posting it over on the main channel. And I'm going to be doing another trialist. I guess this channel is basically just going to be a trialist video channel, actually. Is the All Resident Evil games of 2026. Here we go. Alright, so we do have the original Resident Evil, and we also do have the remakes of the Resident Evil games. I'm actually going to go ahead and let you guys know that Resident Evil 2 original and Resident Evil 1 original is the only in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis original is actually, a matter of fact, the OG originals games that I have not played. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let you guys know. They are just basically, I think Resident Evil, I think this is like the director's cut, I believe. I heard it just had like extra content in it. Never played it. Just gonna go ahead and let you guys know. But Resident Evil 1 remake, I have played it. So, I only did the Jill storyline. I kind of want to get back into it and do Chris's side. Now, it's basically the same game, but Chris's side, there's just a little bit more other stuff to it, basically. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and let you guys know. Like, Chris have like the different techniques to actually can kill the zombies and stuff like that. So yeah. So Resident Evil 1, I'm actually just gonna say, for the first time I actually playing through it, I actually had to use a guide. I still use the guide whenever I did play through this game years ago. I decided to do a Resident Evil marathon on the main channel back in 2021. I was really unhinged at the time, and I was thinking of probably reliving Resident Evil 1, but with the quiz side being less unhinged, I have matured throughout the years, and I feel like I still get a little bit of some backlash of being really unhinged against the female characters, though. But Resident Evil 1 Remake, it's a good game to me. Not my favorite. I think it's because I grew up in the Resident Evil 4 OG time, when I actually managed to get a hold on my PC that I actually had before the PC that I currently have now. It was actually my first playthrough. I think at the time it was probably like, oh, it's the best horror game at the time. Yes, but to me, it's a good game. It's not my favorite. I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys know. Not my favorite, but it's a good game to me. Resident Evil 2 OG, I can play the OG first 3 on my PS5. I heard this game, the original Resident Evil 2, is probably like the best game at its time. I have not played it. Just gonna go ahead and let you guys know. The only time I actually get like any gameplay content from Resident Evil 2, I usually watch Let's Plays of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, because I was going to do that for 2 to Resident Evil 3. And then was going to play through 4, 5, 6 Revelations, because that's the only ones that I did have. So OG Resident Evil 2, I never played it. So sorry I didn't play the originals. Just letting you guys know. The only time I actually get the chance to like live through the Resident Evil 2 like timeline, basically, or the like kind of like a little bit of like the storyline was Resident Evil 2 Remake, because I did play through it around the time Resident Evil 2 Remake was released. It's probably one of my top best games I played. I have played Resident Evil 2 Remake multiple times before I actually did the YouTube channel, or the YouTube video on it. So Resident Evil 2 Remake is probably like my best. Sorry, I'm actually giving you guys a like, why is Resident 2 remakes higher than Resident Evil? Like I said, it's at the time when I first played Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. It's like, I like that one a lot more better than the first game. Yes, a lot of the first game actually has a lot of takes a lot of people's hearts, basically. But that's just me. I think it's just because it's the storyline's a little slow. I know it's like a little bit like the build up from these like starting up a incredible series, by the way. And this is my trial list, so if you guys hate it, sorry. This is my tier list. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Okay, there is a lot of controversy from the Resident Evil OG into Resident Evil 3 Remake, is because there was like hours and hours of content that was cut from the from the original, from the remake. Like I say this, 2 and 3 Remake is the only like storyline plot from the OG 2 and 3. So when I played through Resident Evil 3 Remake, it was my first time playing like kind of like the story for Resident Evil 3. I kind of a little bit know what I was getting myself into, because I have consumed a lot of the Resident Evil storyline, actually. Resident Evil 3 OG I never played, but Resident Evil 3, it's short. It's actually like really short. I kind of want to replay it, but to me, it's a okay game. It's not my favorite. I think it's because a lot of people said, "Oh, there's a lot of content on it." I do know that. That's all I got to say for Resident Evil 3. There was some favorite moments I did enjoy about Resident Evil 3 Remake, but it was an okayest game. Code Veronica. This is a love the game from everyone. When I first played it, yes, I did use a guide to play through this game because it was my first time playing it. To me, honestly, whenever they decided to do the remake, I'm actually hope it's not gonna be too freaking complicated. Because there was some boss fights talking about the Titan plane fight. God, the freaking Tyrant plane fight was painful, chat. It really was. But Code Veronica, I did enjoy it. I think it's because I was playing Chloe Redfield the majority of the time, and soon we actually will be getting into Dark Side Chronicles and also Umbrella Chronicles. That is a game that I do see on this list. I have not played yet, but we will be really soon. Resident Evil 0. Low key, I actually know the puzzles of Resident Evil 0 more by heart than the first Resident Evil remake. I'm pretty sure this is the original. I think it's the remake. I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys know. I actually went through it with the guide for the first time, but whenever I did do the series, I did use a guide, but there was a lot of it that I kind of knew by heart. I was like, I remember this and I know it by heart, so Resident Evil 0 is a good game. Straightforward. Just had to place it down. The first Resident Evil game I have played was Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube. I have played Resident Evil 4 OG so many times that, like I said in the series, I know the lines by heart. And Resident Evil 4 OG has a special place in my heart. It really does. I actually bought it on the Switch. I actually bought it on the PlayStation 4. Played it multiple times. I played it on PC. I played it multiple times. And the same for Resident Evil 4 remake. Resident Evil 4 Remake is more like up-to-date storyline. Actually, I enjoy Resident Evil 4 Remake and also Separate Ways with Ada. It's such a good game. Special place in my heart. I think it's because it's the two games it just remade. If you have played the OG, you will actually have a love with the remake. Makes a lot of sense. Because Resident Evil 4 OG and remake has a special place in my heart. There was like some really fun, my favorite moments in remake and also in OG. Resident Evil 5. I think honestly, truly, I think this is a okay game. It's not bad like a lot of people says it is. That plus the famous meme is on is when Chris has punched the boulder in the boss fight with Wesker and Volcano. It's Resident Evil 5. It's kind of like when the Resident Evil kind of start bringing in competitive, not really competitive, co-op, because you can actually play it with your friend. There has been some really my favorite moments that was in Resident Evil 5. When I first played through it back in the PS3 days, I enjoyed it because, oh, it's Resident Evil. There has been some moments it's like, oh, I hate this. But going back into it, and we did see some unbroken game moments when we did play through it for the series, actually. I will say it was a okayest game. It's not bad, Chad. It's not the worst, but I will say it's like my least favorite out of the whole series. It's not bad. Resident Evil Revelations. My first time playing Resident Evil Revelations was on the 3DS because technically it was a 3DS game, and then it releases into PC, into console. There was just a little bit more content on console and PC than there was on the 3DS. It's just more, whenever you do like the raid mode, actually it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of the, not mercenaries, it was, I think it was just basically like the raid modes that you had to go through the missions. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a time trial to see how fast you can actually beat in a stage within a time limit, and you actually do unlock like different characters throughout the game. And I did notice that there's only like a few amount on the 3DS version than it was on the console and also the PC. There was a lot more characters that you can play through and unlock on the PC and console version that you can on the 3DS. I have played the 3DS version so many times that I was getting the infinite ammo weapons. Like, I was getting weapons that you basically can do like 3 to 4 sides and kill a boss and stuff like that. It was Resident Evil Revelations just on a handheld at the time was probably like my favorite game to play with at the time. It has a favorite place in my heart because I played it so many times throughout my childhood back on the 3DS. Because Resident Evil Revelations was probably like my second game that I bought with my 3DS. Because my first one was Star Fox 64 at the time. And I will place Revelation as a best game for me because I have played it multiple times. I think I will probably put on top of Code Veronica, because I don't know if I'm going to replay through Code Veronica. Resident Evil 6. I don't think there's actually going to be any bad Resident Evil games. That place, going back to Revelations is taking place in between 4 and 5. Just letting you guys know. Resident Evil 6 is more of a lanky Resident Evil because there's like multiple storylines you can play with Leon, Chris, Jake, and Ada. It's basically will all connect whenever they make their way up into China, actually. But Resident Evil 6, there was like a few moments that I do enjoy, and there was some moments like, it's alright. But Resident Evil 6, to me, it's probably over Resident Evil 5. It's not bad, but it's not the worst. Resident Evil Revelations 2. I remembered that Resident Evil Revelations 2 used to be separate episodes. You either played the first episode that is with Claire and Mara, Barry's daughter, and also the second part you play as Barry with God, I can't remember the little girl name. I think it's Natalie. I might be wrong. It's been so long ago. And there was like 4 episodes that you just had to wait like a few months. It was paid episodes, basically. It was kind of like Life is Strange whenever Life is Strange 1 released. Like, oh, you get the first episode, and then you had to wait for a little bit till the second episode release. That's kind of like how Revelations 2 was at the time whenever it kind of started. Revelations 2 is taking place in between 5 and 6. Because why did the end of 6 lead up into the events of... Resident Evil 2 will lead up to Resident Evil 6 at the end of it. And Revelations 2... It's a good game. It's not bad. It's not on top of Revelations. But... it's not bad, chap. It really isn't bad. Resident Evil Biohazard or Resident Evil 7. Man, I remembered I was afraid to play this game at the time it was released because first person was a little bit new into Resident Evil. This game is such a good game, chat. But it's... let me actually move you back. What did I place? There we go. I'm probably gonna piss up a lot of people placing it there. I will actually replace it on Best. Pie on top of Resident Evil 2 Remake and Revelations Code Veronica. It's because at its time it was like the best horror game at the time because Resident Evil never did first person till Resident Evil 7. On top of like doing the Chris Redfield, I was just gonna call it the fake Redfield DLC because they did Chris Redfield dirty in that game. And the first person was a little bit new, so it was a good game at the time. It probably was like the best horror game at the time. I was playing a lot of horror games back in 2007 because Outlast was released at that right about that time when Resident Evil 7 was released. Resident Evil Village. It's to me low key. I think probably like my favorite moment in Village was later demonstrated. That's basically it. I'm gonna say it's a good game. It's not my favorite Resident Evil game. I think it's because I think just my favorite part is just the castle section. Basically, because you get chased by some hot I'm just gonna call it like a hot vampire chick, and also you have like some hot witches that is basically hunting you down throughout the game. Yes, I'm being really unhinged here, but that's basically it. There was some terrifying moments, mostly in the house of Benedetto. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong with the baby. That scene was crazy, but in that place, we kind of knew a little bit more about Chris Redfield because, like they did for Resident Evil 7, like they did Chris Redfield dirty, but we know that Chris it's on its own. He's not part of the BSAA anymore, and we know that the BSAA is want to take control of some bioweapons. The funny thing is that because I kind of low-key forgot about like what the BSAA was doing during Village in Reglium, because Reglium, man, it was such a good game. I actually put it here because Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 4 Remix is gonna have a special place in my heart anyway, but I actually may just place it over Remake of Resident Evil 4, because Resident Evil 4 Requiem is actually really good. We actually do get really some nostalgic moments throughout the game. We do make our way back into Raccoon City. We do see some really interesting characters returning. It was a fun game. It really was. That place we did get a new character in the game, but I'm actually hoping that we actually do see Rose, like we did for the Rose DLC for Village, because I kind of low-key want to know more about the Rose Winter's storyline. I don't know if that's going to be leading up more into that storyline coming into Resident Evil 10. We just got to wait and see, or they may do something for the DLC, because Resident Evil Requiem DLC was recently just been announced. It's in development, so we just got to wait and see. Maybe about the story for the BSAA and see what the BSAA has been doing. Who knows? Alright. Survival 2, Code Veronica, Dead Aim, Gaiden, Outbreak, and Outbreak 2. So basically, these games I had never played before, but I was told if you have not played Outbreak and Outbreak 2, you won't understand the storyline for Requiem. But there was only one character mentioned that was as an Ashcroft. He's basically a playable character in Outbreak and Outbreak 2 that just have a little bit of some storyline in Requiem. But we do know that Outbreak and Outbreak 2 was never mentioned in Requiem. Only the character, basically. And say this, I never played them, so there are two games that I never played. Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles. I do know that we do play through Resident Evil 0 to 3. And we also do get to see the West Coast side of the story whenever Umbrella was collapsing down 1012. And I think West Coast did have a additional storyline what he was doing before 4 and 5. I haven't played it yet, but I do have it on PlayStation 5. So, another game I have not played yet, but we will be playing it really, really soon. And also, it's a railed shooter. It's basically like an arcade shooter. Basically, kind of like House of the Dead a little bit. And the same thing with Darkside Chronicles. Darkside Chronicles is taking place in between 3 and 4. But we do go through, I think we go through Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica. And also, we will figure out about the backstory of Jack Krauser, how he got infected in 4. That is something that I heard about. And also, it's another rail shooter, like Umbrella Chronicles. Just another game I just haven't played yet. Soon. Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D. This was only on the 3DS. This was a fun game. It really was. It's mostly... It's not really mostly co-op. You can play it on with yourself, but there's only like a few characters that you can play. Claire, Barry, Wesker, Chris, Jill, Rebecca Chambers, and Honk. That's basically it. There was DLC announcement, but they never done it. This game had so much potential at the time, but no one really played it. There has been some favorite moments throughout the game that I have played through with online players around the world. I don't mind saying couches for players then. In that place you do get like challenges. You can be able to unlock like different cosmetics for the couches, and also if you do like the stealth points on your 3DS, you can unlock like weapons and upgrades and different skins for the couches. It was a fun game. Unfortunately, the game did not. It had so much potential at the time. It's such a fun game, chat. What I will probably do is I'm just gonna put fun or bad. Had potential, basically. It had potential. If you played the mercenaries from like Resident Evil 4 remake, 4 OG, Resident Evil 5, the mercenaries was not really much of a great thing on Village, but it was just a good game. Operation Raccoon City. This game is fun. It's a side game, actually. It's not canon, but you have like multiple storylines. You play as the USS characters. You go through moments through like playing with you get to play with Hawk throughout the escape of the Umbrella Lab when William Birkin turned into G, basically, and you fight through the tunnel. You do fly through back in the city during the events of 2 and also 3, and also you do have like the I can't remember the other organization that was part of the Raccoon City incident that was trying to prevent. I think it's called the USBC. I may be wrong about that. That you do fight Nemesis and stuff like that. And plus, Operation Raccoon City is kind of like an Arceus game, basically, because whenever you die, it has like that countdown that said push to continue thing. It's a fun game. There's not really a lot of people actually play it, but it's a classic. It really is. It's just a fun game. If you want to play through a Resident Evil game that is side. Umbrella Copes. Challenging game. Here's the thing. A lot of people overlooks this. This game is so underrated. A lot of people do not give this game light. It really doesn't. A lot of people does not know this. I have said this, and when we played the game for the series for Resident Evil, and I would say this again. Umbrella Comps is canon. It's canon to the storyline, to the timeline. Capcom confirmed that when we played it. A lot of people doesn't really look into Umbrella Comps being a Resident Evil game. But technically, it's like a mobile game. You go through like different towers. It's basically challenges. It's kind of is set up by a mobile game company. Yes, I know, but there is a storyline, a little storyline, not too complex. But we do go through different sceneries throughout the franchise. Actually, it's a fun game, challenging. Sometimes, some of them was really challenging. Whenever we got into like the Resident Evil 5 part of the game to the Arctic. The Arctic is taking place during the events of Code Veronica, but it's a fun game. It really is. It's underrated, by the way. Really underrated. Resident Evil Resistance and Resident Evil Versus. Low-key, Jen, I actually thought these two games was low-key gonna have so much potential. I had tried to play these before. Gonna add a whoa and say Rust. because these two games, I think what Capcom was trying to do with these two games, Resident Evil Versus was like, had like a little bit of like Dead by Daylight a little bit, because you have the Overseer who are trying to like release like BOWs into like different stages basically, and your resistance, like the characters down here, they have like do certain tasks throughout the game trying to survive from finding this BOW. That's basically was it. It was kind of had like the same thing like Dead by Daylight to me. I never really touched it because no one plays it, unfortunately. It was possibly like once in a blue moon I may see someone actually playing the game on Twitch or on TikTok or anything like that, but it's the same thing with like Versus. Like Versus is kind of like a free-for-all. If you die, you turn into like a BOW and stuff like that. It's really challenging because there actually are some players that actually does play through Resident Evil Versus that actually are hardcore fans to the game. It's crazy, but there's not a lot of people that play it, because if you're just gonna get into a lobby, it's just gonna be the same players. That's basically it. I feel like I need to play through these other games here. Now, Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles is on that list, but I need to see if I can be able to get to trying to find Survivors 2. I had played Gaiden on a emulator back when I was in high school. I didn't really quite understand the controls, because the controls on it was confusing. Never played it. Same with I never played Dead Aim or the Outbreak games. But I think this is my Resident Evil trial list video. Is there anything I want to change? I think everything is fine. Yeah, I would say that.